Okay, so the next tools we're going to be looking at using is these top ones here in your modeling toolkit saying combine and separate. So what this does is at the minute, if we kind of refer back to this model, we have this section for the table, which is just a cube that we've removed any faces that aren't going to be seen just to kind of reduce topology there. And we have this top area of the table as well. Now, if this was going to be an engine, we obviously want these to be one object. So the way that we would do that is you would click one of the objects here, you would hold shift and click the other one, just so you can have multiple things selected. And then what you can do is click this combine option, and that will take those two meshes, and you can see if I go to object mode now, this now counts that as one mesh, and in your outliner it also has made that one mesh, so I can name that table, for example. There we go. So now I have the table as one object. You can do similar things for things like this lamp. If I want this lamp to always stay in this bowl, which is in real life, I'll click combine. Same thing here, it's made a new object for that. I can call this lamp, and now that's always going to be one object. Same thing here, I've made these kind of like little decorative inlays. If I turn my material on, you can kind of see how that appears. I want these to be attached to the table because I don't want to be moving my table and that not moving with it. So with the table selected, I can select those, and this is also accessible up here in your polymodeling shelf tab. So you can either click combine up here, or you can click it in your modeling toolkit. There you go, and now you can see that table is all one object and it all moves together. Same with this lamp, one object moves together. So that's pretty handy. Now you might also find that you're going to want to separate objects as well. Maybe I just want to work on this bottom bit again where I want to add some detail, or maybe I just want to select an area of this top table. I want to separate these. So it's going to be quite self-explanatory for this bit. With this object selected, I can click the separate button, and what that will do is any models or objects that were originally separated before combining are now separate once again. Okay, so if I was going to do that on this lamp, for example, you can see here that's counting that as one object, it's saying lamp. And if I was to click separate, that's now two objects. And the way that it's kind of sorted that out in the outliner is where it says lamp here, it's made it into a group. And if I click this little plus icon just next to it, you can see the two objects just here. So I can actually name these like dish and lamp and have a group name for whatever it is that you want to name that. Okay, so that's how you combine and separate objects. There's also another mode to use which is called extract. This can be really helpful for taking individual faces out of objects. So whereas combine and separate will combine one mesh with another mesh, or one object with another object, this can take an individual face and extract it. So say for example I wanted just this face on its own as a separate object, I could select that in face mode, and just up here on your shelf you have extract. You can see if I hover over that a little bit longer, it will actually say the word extract. So the reason why that's a little bit different from separate is it does work with individual faces. So let me click that, and then if I go to object mode, you'll see that this face is now its own object. Okay, I'm just going to Control Z that. Yeah, put that back to normal. Now, the reason why you might want that for this particular example is you can see here we have a lot of vertices on these areas here, which would, if this was all going to be one object, this would need to be changed so that it's not using n-gons. So we'd have to kind of go in with multi-cut tool and add a lot more geometry to this. So actually it can sometimes be easier just to remove that from one object and make it its own object that just sits on top of it, because you're going to reduce the poly count. So what I'm going to do is go to face mode, and we're just going to select all of the faces on this top of the table here. So you might think this is going to be really kind of tricky to get because it's going to be clicking all these little areas. You can actually hold tab when you're doing selection and drag, and it kind of works a little bit like a paint feature like this. But you can kind of see that. Now I'm going to just take some time and go through this, and I'll probably skip to when these are all selected. Okay, so all of these faces are selected, and I want these to be a separate object. So what I'm going to do is, with them selected, I'm going to click on the extract tool, and now if I go to object mode, I can actually lift this out, right? So this is now a separate object. What that means is you can see here I can keep these as being four-sided shapes without having to draw these additional lines, and you can't tell. It's just sitting there as a separate object, right? If I really wanted, I could fill in the gap of this table, but there's not really much point here. It's kind of doing what it needs to be doing. So there you go. That's how you use combine, separate, and extract.